Well, I can tell you this, nothing exciting has been going on with the Celica GT-SS, but I am getting a little bit done. This has taken way longer than what it was supposed to. I kind of been putting off painting it because, well, I can't get started early enough in the day, and I don't want to work when it's 90 degrees, you know, with a respirator and working with paint, stuff like that. So anyway, finally got up early enough today to shoot some paint on it. Nothing special, but it is painted. We do have a lower half of the firewall. Let's take a look at it. And that's what we have. Got a seat belt brackets are all done. Seam sealed, painted. Next step is going to be to do the upper half of the firewall, and that has to have a window in it. That's going to be a lot of fun for me to do. But the video that follows is just some of the things I had to do to get to this point. Nothing exciting in it, but if anybody's interested, I'll show you some of the stuff I did to get to this point. Take a quick look at the back side of the firewall. I decided that the inside of the engine compartment should be black because, well, you know, engine compartments tend to get dirty. It's all going to be covered with some kind of sound deadening anyway. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but then again, it's not a piece of art to hang on a wall. It's just a firewall. It should serve its purpose. Well, it all started a long time ago. As with everything in the shop, it usually starts with some sticks, some cardboard, moving some sticks around to finalize what I want to do. And then I draw up some plans on a piece of paper and then, you know, just don't follow those really. But, you know, I got some ideas. Yeah, if you hear a little humming in the background during the voiceover parts of this, it's because my sound studio is also the room that my 3D printer is in. So, I mean, it works. Not great, but it works. Well, I had it running and moving, driving. Well, it drove 30 feet and spun the tires. That was kind of fun. Of course, what you do after you get to that point is you take it all back apart. I mean, why not? So what I'm working on now, finally getting back to putting the firewall in it so that I can actually drive this thing without overheating and getting overcome by exhaust fumes and other fun stuff like that. Might be a little loud driving it without a firewall in it. I've worked on the bracing, figured out how I wanted to make my bracing, got my bracing in here, primed it. Now I've got the cardboard cut out for where my firewall is going to be. It's far enough forward so I can get in here and change the spark plug if necessary and maybe work on the coil packs a little bit. Still going to be rather difficult to work on this motor, but I think it's probably going to be easier to work on the motor in here than it was in the Impala. Well, I hope. I hope I don't have to work on it too much. So I've got the firewall set back in here, the template for the firewall, and I've marked where the bracing's at so that I can drill my steel panel where I'm going to spot weld it to this framework. I'm going to put it in kind of temporarily at first, as with everything, just in case it gets in the way of doing something else. But I've got it set up where I want it, got the bottom of it angled exactly how I need it. Makes a little bit of storage space on the inside. Not going to be much storage space on this car. I've kind of figured out what I need for a little fill panel in here so that it'll be high enough to make it easier to get the subframe in, and I won't be running into this corner right up against here. Give me a little bit of space to work with putting the motor in and out. I've also decided I'm going to move the seat belt in a little bit. By moving the seat belt in and attaching it to this part of the frame, it'll make it a lot easier for me to put sheet metal around it and actually get the seat belt itself, the retractor, on the inside of the car. The way it is right now, I'd have to bring sheet metal back over and around. There's a whole lot more work to build a box around it to actually get the retractor on the inside of the car, protect it from the elements. Well, that was quick, almost like magic. Actually, it went something more like this. I've done a little stretching before I'm going to bead roll it. This is the first time I've ever pre-stretched a panel, and it seems to work pretty good. I've done one bead so far. Looks like it is about right. If I can remember which way to push this thing to lock it down. Wait a minute, get it lined up before you step on the pedal. This is not a bead rolling tutorial. I'm a amateur at this at best. But you can see it's coming out pretty good. It's got a little bit of a crown where I stretched it at, and after it's rolled, it comes out flat. I'm happy with that. Could be a little bit straighter, but you can't tell if it's straight or not when you look at it from this direction. Wobbled a little bit. Don't know if you can see on camera, but hey, you know, it'll work. And 3, 2, 1, bend. All the way to 90 degrees. Beautiful. Now if I bend it the right way, it'll fit. All right. Now I'm just going to temporarily put this in place with some clamps and make sure everything else is going to work before I weld it in. Make sure it doesn't get in my way as I do other things. And just like that, we have the corner panels ready to go in. Nothing, well, that was loud. Nothing's welded in place yet. I'm working on the, I guess we'll call them the seatbelt boxes, seatbelt retractor boxes. I looked at making this round. I think I'm going to make it square to make it easier. It's just a matter of cutting cardboard templates until they all fit, and then cutting it out of steel and hoping that the steel fits. All right, I've transferred my size and distance off of my small piece of cardboard to a bigger piece of cardboard. This is just going to be my top half of the template. Once I make it in metal, it will all be one piece. What I have to do now is trim this flange off a little bit so this will go up over the top. This part in here will have to be trimmed out up the corner right here so it can fold in and be inside of this tube. This is going to be my flange that will be spot welded right to here. This should work fairly well once I do some more cutting and trimming on it. This is just the first try. We'll see how many templates we have to make. And here we have a small pile of sheet metal parts that will become the lower half of the firewall. Well, I had to use some unorthodox clamping methods to clamp it in place for spot welding, but it works. Seatbelt retractors in position in that photo so you can see where it's at. Some of the assorted hardware and parts bolted into place, and a view of the back of the firewall with all the nut plates that were welded on to hold assorted electronic parts to the front of the firewall. Well, next I'm moving on to another not so exciting part of this build, but a little more complicated because I have to put a window in the upper half of this firewall. So until next time, thanks for watching. All right, like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and as always, thanks for watching.